the vulnerability itself is quite complex, but you can really boil it down to what I'm going to show you here. So, I'll just draw a little house here, and user, right? So we've got a user at home. Get on your computer, and you want to go to, we'll just use Facebook.com as an example. If they were affected, I think they haven't officially declared whether they were affected or not. But if they were affected, we'll just use them as an example because everyone uses Facebook, right?
Right.
So, Facebook.com. And this box, this is a web server.
Okay.
So when you plug in Facebook.com in your web browser, you're going to be redirected to a web server. Now, on this web server, there's a couple components that allow this server to function and provide Facebook to your home user. And in regards to this bug, really there's two pieces of the server you got to be aware of. RAM. Everyone's heard of RAM, right? That's the stuff I need to go faster, right? And then you've got what we call in the IT industry persistent or permanent storage. Now, when your home user, average Joe user at home, goes to Facebook.com, they're sending information to this web server, right? And that information is stuff like passwords, usernames, right?
Right.
And what the web server is going to do when it gets this information, when it facilitates this transaction, for a time, that information is going to be stored in memory. It's going to hold on to that information in memory, and it depends on the web server. After an undetermined amount of time, eventually it's going to dump it to permanent storage. At which point, in regards to Heartbleed, that information is safe once it's at this location.
Okay.
Now, the way the Heartbleed vulnerability works is, so you've got this transaction occurring for millions of users, right? The way Heartbleed works is we've got, here, I'll give him some angry eyes. That way we know he's an attacker. So we got Mr. Hacker down here, and he knows about this Heartbleed vulnerability. And let's say he knows, for example, Facebook.com is vulnerable. Now, without the user knowing, and very likely without Facebook knowing, what he can do is he can tap into this Heartbleed vulnerability. What it allows him to do is he can send a request to whatever's in memory here, whatever's in this RAM section of the web server,
Okay.
and he can call back 64K chunks of data. Now, that's not a lot of data. That's really, in the grand scheme of things, that's a small amount of data.
Okay.
The problem is he can do that 100,000 times a minute, 10,000 times a minute, depending on how much computing power he has at his location. What happens is this, with that in mind, this ends up being a large amount of data. Now, random access memory. What is in here it's not solid. It's like a liquid. It could be something different depending on that point in time. But if they get lucky enough with this transaction, they could pull usernames and passwords directly out of memory before it hits this persistent storage.
Gotcha.
So what the fix involves is limiting the amount of storage that can be pulled from this location.
Okay.
To a very, very small amount, just enough for the OpenSSL protocol to work properly.
Okay.
Yep. And then the really malicious thing about this is this transaction can occur, like I said, without either of these entities knowing. It's like someone tapping your phone.
Right.
I mean, you think you're having a private conversation. The person you're talking to thinks you're having a private conversation, but someone's tapping it and you don't know.
Right.
So that's really what it boils down to.